So the film kicks off in this quiet countryside, way out from the city chaos. We see three guys sitting in a car, parked somewhere not too close to anyone: Gaz, Nathan, and Terry. They're not just hanging out, though. They're spying on an older couple, Dr. Richard and Ellen. The plan? Rob their house. Terry's the one giving the lowdown. Apparently, Richard has this Friday ritual where he takes his wife out to dinner. That's perfect for the three of them to sneak in without getting caught, at least in Terry's mind. While the trio's waiting for the couple to leave, Nathan's girlfriend, Mary, rolls up. She's fuming because Nathan swiped her car, making her late for work. Nathan's like, "Chill, I just need it for a little longer. Try to play it cool." Mary's not buying it, but she reluctantly waits in the car. Eventually, when Richard and Ellen drive off, the boys jump into action. Terry digs out a key he stashed under a flower pot, and they sneak inside. Once they're in, Nathan and Gaz immediately ask about the safe. That's when Terry drops the bomb. He actually has no clue where the safe is. He thought it was full of cash because his mom, who comes to clean the house, mentioned it in passing. Gaz totally loses it, starts smashing things, grabbing whatever he can like a kid in a candy store. At one point, he discovers a room with a sign that says Kate, filled with dollhouses, and being Gaz, he can't resist wrecking it all. Meanwhile, Terry heads down to the basement and, lucky him, actually finds the safe they've been hunting. He calls the others, and they rush down, hyped. Gaz brings some tools, ready to crack an electronic safe. But guess what? It's a combo lock, so their fancy tools are useless. He flips out at Terry for not knowing this, but Terry shrugs and says, "My mom never mentioned the combination." They mess around trying all sorts of ways to open it. Nothing works. Terry suggests bailing, but Gaz and Nathan are stubborn. They decide they'll wait for the couple to come back and strong-arm the code out of them. While they're waiting, they wander upstairs and watch some TV to kill time. Outside, Mary shouts at Nathan because it's getting late. Terry asks Nathan for the car keys, wanted to take her to work and come back, but Nathan's not having it. Instead, he convinces Mary to come inside. She's hesitant at first, but eventually gives in. Once inside, Nathan starts making out with her right there, making Terry visibly uncomfortable. Gaz is exploring around and finds a photo of a young woman. He jokes, suggesting she's more Terry's type. Terry gets quiet and explains the girl is actually Kate, the couple's daughter who passed away. Then Mary drops a bomb of her own. She's pregnant. Nathan, ever the dreamer, reassures her that after today, they'll have plenty of money. Just as he's speaking, the older couple pulls up and comes back home early. Panic sets in. Gaz hands out stockings to hide their faces. They barely cover anything, but Mary doesn't have much choice. She wants out, but Gaz pushes her to stay and wear a stocking too. As soon as Richard and Ellen enter, chaos explodes. The boys jump at them. Ellen cuts her hand on some broken glass, and they forcefully drag the couple into the living room, tying them up. Richard is worried about his wife, but the boys are loud and aggressive, yelling at him to shut up. Seeing the injury, Mary steps in with a first aid kit, patching Ellen up. The gang demands money. Richard points them to cash in the kitchen and hands over his wallet and credit card, but it's not enough. They still want the safe's combination. Richard insists he doesn't know, so the teens drag him and Ellen down to the basement, forcing them in front of the safe. Mary pleads for them to stop, but Nathan argues that he's doing it for her and their unborn baby. He orders Richard to open it. When the old man refuses, Nathan slaps him, but Richard doesn't budge. Ellen starts panicking even more, mentioning that she has dementia and sometimes gets confused. Gaz, totally losing control, tries to burn her with a cigarette, but stops after his friends shout at him. Then he hands Nathan a knife, basically egging him on. Terrified, Mary bolts upstairs, grabs a phone, and hides in the bathroom to call the cops. Before she can dial, Gaz grabs her hair and smashes her head into a mirror. Her scream is loud, bouncing through the house, but Nathan doesn't react. In the basement, Richard stays calm and starts talking directly to Terry, saying his mom is going to be devastated when she finds out what he's done. He also talks to Nathan, warning him not to let Gaz, who's from another town and clearly trouble, manipulate him. Richard pleads with them not to ruin their lives over money. Things get worse fast. Gaz drags a tied-up, bleeding Mary into the basement, revealing she tried to call the police. Nathan, desperate, presses a knife to Ellen's throat, demanding the safe code again. Gaz whispers something to Nathan, making him anxious. When Nathan threatens to cut Ellen's finger, Richard begs him to stop, reminding him of Mary and their baby. Gaz then raises his gun at Nathan, forcing him to go through with it. Nathan, trapped, cuts off Ellen's finger. Richard is devastated, but he still refuses to give the combination. Nathan is horrified at what he just did and lashes out at Gaz, sparking a violent struggle. Gaz overpowers him and stabs him in the stomach. Richard begs to be untied so he can help Nathan, but Gaz refuses unless he gets the safe code first. Cornered, Richard finally gives in and whispers the combination. Gaz rushes to the safe, but the first code doesn't work. Richard gives him another one. Meanwhile, Terry is frozen in shock, crying and unable to move. Mary quietly frees herself during the confusion. The second code also fails, and Gaz completely loses it. He grabs a circular saw and rushes at Ellen. Richard begs him to stop, but Gaz ignores him. Just as Gaz is about to strike, Mary surprises him from behind and smashes his head with a sledgehammer, killing him instantly. She quickly frees Richard and Ellen. Then she discovers the basement leads into a garage with a van, perfect for escape or getting help. But Richard stops her. He grabs a gun and explains that no one can leave because the hospital is 30 minutes away and Nathan won't make in time. Instead, Richard plans to stabilize Nathan at home until the ambulance arrives. Mary and Terry carefully carry Nathan upstairs while Richard tends to Ellen. They lay him on a bed, barely conscious. Richard doesn't immediately help Nathan, but calmly treats Ellen's minor wound first. Mary keeps pleading, so Richard checks Nathan roughly, pulling the knife out as if to remind him how badly he's hurt. He insists no vital organs were hit and orders everyone to stay out of the way. The house falls silent as he works. He promises he'll take care of Nathan and call an ambulance as soon as he's done. Outside, Mary is a complete mess, crying and shaking from everything that just happened. Terry stands nearby, trying to calm her down, whispering that it's going to be all right, that things will settle soon. But then, almost out of nowhere, he calls her beautiful and leans in, trying to kiss her. Mary snaps. She's furious, screaming at him that he's taking advantage of her in a moment when she's most vulnerable. She blames him for the whole nightmare, saying this mess is on him. Terry quickly tries to explain that it was Nathan's idea, but Mary doesn't buy it. She reminds him that his mom works at the house, implying he should have known better. Then Mary digs a little deeper, bringing up her twin sister, Jane, who had once dated Terry. She doesn't hold back. She says Jane never really loved him, only toyed with his feelings, and that Terry is partly to blame for why Jane left town. Her words hit him like a ton of bricks. Terry, usually the tough guy, crumbles right there, tears running down his face like a kid who's just been scolded. Meanwhile, Mary checks on Nathan, finding him pale, almost ghostly and ice-cold to the touch. Richard, ever calm, tells her Nathan is just asleep. But Mary isn't convinced. She searches for a pulse, and when she can't find one, the truth hits her. Richard's lying. She watches him pretend to call an ambulance to reassure her, but then she notices the phone cord is cut. Panic sets in. She tries to escape, but her stomach turns violently, and she vomits in the sink. Richard casually offers some medicine to calm her down, but she refuses, furious and terrified. As she stumbles out of the room, she witnesses something horrifying. Ellen is kneeling behind Terry, injecting something into his backside, treating him almost like a helpless child. Mary's heart races. She tries to run, but realizes every door in the house is locked. She yells at Richard, demanding to know what Ellen just gave him. Richard replies casually, "It's just a painkiller." Mary's frantic, demanding Terry's phone so she can call for help, but Terry says Ellen has it. She tries telling him Nathan is dead, but he seems in a haze, not comprehending what she's saying. Not long after, the couple invites them to join for tea, acting almost normal. At the table, Richard pulls out a photo of their late daughter, Kate, and begins talking about her fondly, describing what a sweet little girl she was. When Ellen reaches for a sip, Richard stops her, saying that the tea is for Mary. Ellen apologizes and hands it over. Richard then flips open a scrapbook that Ellen made, showing pictures of girls who've gone missing over the years. Mary's stomach drops when she sees Jane's face among them. Terrified, she demands her phone back so she can call Nathan's mother, but the couple refuses, ordering her to drink the tea instead. Panic rising, Mary tries to run, but Richard easily grabs her, shoving her into a cupboard under the stairs. Shockingly, Terry doesn't object. He actually guards her, still under the influence of whatever drugs Ellen gave him. Richard takes Ellen upstairs to bed, leaving Mary trapped and desperate. She begs Terry to let her out, but he refuses, bitterness and resentment etched across his face. He accuses her of treating him like garbage, saying she only cares about Nathan, who supposedly never really loved her either. Slowly, the drugs take hold of Terry. His legs start going numb, and he thinks Ellen overdosed him. Mary tells him it's deliberate, but he keeps defending the couple. As the hallucinations hit, he starts seeing Mary as Jane, and memories of their past together confuse him. Thinking fast, Mary plays along, pretending she's Jane again. The trick works. Terry, caught in the illusion, finally frees her from the cupboard. Mary doesn't waste a second. She rushes upstairs, with Terry struggling behind her, legs weak and trembling. She finds herself in Kate's old room, trying to get out through the window. But Terry, still hallucinating, sees her as Jane and accuses her of abandoning him once more. He tries to kiss her, but Mary pushes him away just as a canister crashes into the room. Metal shutters slam shut over the windows, and smoke fills the air, choking them. They stumble back downstairs, coughing and gasping for breath. Even in the chaos, Terry insists they need to save the old couple, his loyalty twisted by confusion and drugs. Mary searches desperately for an exit when suddenly Richard and Ellen appear through the smoke, both wearing hazmat suits. They attack her without warning. Mary swings her knife wildly, barely slowing them down. Desperate, she grabs a vase and hurls it at Ellen, knocking her to the ground and snatching her mask. During the fight, Ellen manages to inject Mary with something. Mary pulls her into the kitchen, tying her arm to the oven door and prepares to escape. Richard suddenly lunges from behind. Mary fights back with all her strength, shoving him out of the kitchen. He tries to barge back in, but Mary slams the door on his hand with brutal force. One of his fingers snaps off. She grabs Ellen as a hostage, demanding that Richard hand over the van keys and bring Terry in exchange. But the injection hits her hard. Dizziness and weakness take over. Outside, she hears Richard whispering with Terry, but she can't make out their plan. Finally, Richard agrees to cooperate and tells her she can leave the kitchen. Stepping out, Mary finds Terry dazed on the floor, then keys clutched in his pocket. Struggling, she drags him to the garage, and they both climb into the van. She opens the garage door, preparing to drive off, but a gunshot hits her in the abdomen. She turns to see the shooter, Terry, sitting in the back seat. Moments later, Richard and Ellen arrive. Richard sighs, saying they had once considered letting Mary stay after killing Gaz, but her defiance changed their minds. The couple praises Terry for his loyalty, claiming he's earned a reward. They place him in a wheelchair and wheel him over to the safe. When they open it, the truth comes out. The safe conceals a hidden underground cell. Inside is Jane, Mary's twin sister, chained up and dressed like Kate, the couple's deceased daughter. Richard explains that after Kate's death, Ellen became broken, and they started abducting young girls to replace her. None fit until they found Jane. Meanwhile, Mary, bleeding in the van, catches a final glimpse of her sister in the rearview mirror before collapsing. Terry is locked inside the underground cell alongside Jane. A week later, Terry's mother finishes cleaning the couple's house as Richard and Ellen calmly work in the yard, apparently unbothered by everything. She mentions that her son hasn't come home, and Richard casually reassures her that young people often run away. She leaves, and the couple exchanges a satisfied smile, content with how things turned out.